Hello everyone, this is Atman Nityananda and his online spiritual academy, Advaita Atma Yoga Academy, and this is his podcast, Spirituality and Non-Duality. I would like today to speak about the nature of ego. What is this factor element, psychological element we call ego? And especially I want to speak about what is the nature, what this ego is constituted of. Most or almost all, I don't know, but most of teachers, spiritual teachers, say that refer to the ego as the I thought, the thought of I, and that all other thoughts are based or related or depend on this I thought. Thoughts, yes, probably. Because thinking is a process, psychological process, and all thoughts all our thinking, most of our thinking is related to I thought, in the sense that I want this, I want that, I like this, I don't like that, I have done this, I will do that, I'm jealous, I feel like this, I feel like that, or it can take the form, the ego, of mineness. This is mine, this is my book, this is my, we don't say I, but we say my book, my body, my eyes, my and mine. And we attach ourselves to what is my and mine. And what means attachment? An emotional bond, and which causes pain when we lose this mine or this object, my car. So if I lose my car for any reason, the suffering arises in me because of attachment. Who experience pain, psychological pain. So, of course, all thinking is related to I thought, but feelings, they are not related to I thought. They are related to I sense. And what the ego really is? It is the I thought or the I sense. This feeling, we feel that this sense, the body is me. But the body is me are only words, because in Greek language, I'm Greek, from Greece. We don't speak like this. So these words that does not exist in our subconscious mind, in our hard disk. So how can be the ego the I, since we don't know these words, but we have the same experience of ego? Probably the Greek ones, Greek people and English or Spanish people, I live in Spain now, we have the same feeling when we feel this sense of I. But this sense of I is not a sense of I, because it has not a name. It's just a feeling. So the ego, what is the ego? The feeling I am, the body, or the thought I am? Yeah, to me it's very clear. That is a feeling. We feel that we are the body. And then we can say, I feel that I am the body. Or we feel that we are angry. And then we can say, I feel that I am angry. Or I experience anger in me. But the anger is not the words, I experience anger in me, or I feel I am angry, or I think I am angry. Anger is an energy vibrating in our psyche. In the same way, ego is an energy vibrating in our psyche. And psyche includes all levels or aspects of the mind. And when I say mind, I don't refer only to the thinking mind. Everything in our psychological world is mind. So there is thinking mind, sensory mind, emotional mind, intellect, subconscious mind, practical mind, overmind as Sri Aurobindo, which is illuminated mind. All this mind, inspirational mind, intuitive mind, intelligent mind, stupid mind, all is mind. So, the ego, as all other psychological experiences except thoughts, are not thoughts. Thinking probably has as sender the I thought or the my or mine thoughts. This is mine, that is yours, etc., etc. But the experience of the ego is a feeling, a sense that the body is me. Because this element we call ego is the factor that causes all types, all kinds of identifications. So, first of all, the ego makes us identify with the physical body and then with all mental, emotional, intellectual expressions, functions, and processes. So the mind thinks, we say, I think, I'm thinking. The mind feels, we say, I feel. And since we identify this I with the body, it is that this body me feels and thinks and decides. Because as a body me, I have a mind to think and feel and decide and act, or the body acts, but thinking is also action, a psychological action. So, the I, not. The ego is not the I thought. It is a field of energy, of psychic vital energy that vibrates in our body, our physical body. There is, we could say, an energetic body, which this energetic body, which is the mind in reality, and the central factor of this mind, of this energetic body is, or psyche, is the sense of I. It is the ego which creates this sense of I, which mostly identifies with the physical body, first of all, identifies with the physical body and all psychological expressions, functions, etc. And also the ego makes us identify with external objects, persons, situations, experiences, impressions, whatever. So, and this knowledge, what practical aid is this knowledge to know that the ego is a field of energy and not the I thought? It is that in order to get free, to be free from this factor we call ego, because the ego is the factor that causes us all kinds of suffering, is to dissolve this energetic body, subtle body. This knowledge that the ego is a field of energy enable us to have this understanding that in order to be free from the ego, we must dissolve this field of energy. That's why it's not so easy to get rid of the ego, to be free from the ego. Because if the ego really was just a thought, then we had only to forget this thought or eliminate this thought from our psychological memory, energetic memory, I don't know, and we were free. But is this true? No. And tells us, I said, I'm not sure if I already said this, the word I exists only in English. In Spanish language we say yo. So the ego, okay, it sounds similar, but it's different. So in English the ego is I, I thought, and in Spanish is the yo. Pensamiento is thought. So since the words and thoughts are different in every language, so it cannot be the ego, the thought of I. Because if the ego is the thought of I, or the thought yo in Spanish, so we have different egos. Or if the anger is the thought anger, or the thought ira is anger or enfado in Spanish language, so the ira is the thought, but the ira is also a field of energy, psychic vital energy. We say emotional energy, but what is emotional energy? It's psychic vital energy, life energy, but psychic, it's a spacey, a kind of frequency. So what do we experience are not the thoughts we have about them, but it's a field of energy. Everything is a field of energy, and we give them a name, and the name is a word, and it's also a thought, just to communicate what we experience. So the ego, or all egoic tendencies, are not the thoughts or imaginations. For example, lust is not the lustful thoughts. It's this psychic vital energy that wants pleasure again and again. This is lust. What lust is are not the lustful thoughts. This lustful energy creates lustful thoughts and imaginations in order to project itself onto them and experience pleasure, or projects itself to outer sensory impressions in order to agitate, to excite the sexual energy in us and experience pleasure. It's a matter of projection and identification with what we see, and then this lustful energy in us excites the whole field of energy, of vital energy, sexual energy, and to experience pleasure. This is the game. So lust is not the word lust, it's a field of energy. Ego is not the word of ego or I, it's a field of energy. Anger is not the word of anger, the word anger. It is a field of energy. That's why to be liberated from these tendencies, we have to dissolve the energy, and that's why it's quite difficult, or very difficult, because this energy is stuck like a glue. It is attached to our psychological, to our psyche. And because they are strong through the repetition for many years, we have repeated and we have identified ourselves with them. So, and they dominate our mind and especially our intellect. It's not so easy to stop identifying with them and little by little to dissolve this energy, because it is obstinate. This energy is obstinate. It wants to experience forcefully the same experience, especially pleasure. And this ego, because the ego mostly is lust, it's a lusty energy that wants, it is addictive to pleasure and wants forcefully again and again. That's why it's not so easy to disidentify from this ego. And it's not only this, it's that we take ourselves to be this ego. Because when we want pleasure, we're so diluted by the egoic tendencies related to lust, like gluttony and lasciviousness, and we say, I want pleasure now, I want to have this pleasure, this is my pleasure, this is my decision, what I want, this pleasure. We are so full because of this lustful energy in us, and so diluted, and we suffer because of it. But we ignore also this, that suffering is directly caused by the lustful energy in our system that's so diluted and I speak about myself, about my past experiences. But still, the ego, it's alive in my system, in my psyche, and wants the same thing, although it's very weak now. I speak all types of tendencies that the ego are alive, but very weak. However, they do the same thing again and again. They don't know to do anything else. Because by nature, egoic tendencies are habitual, are habits. Energetic, mental, emotional habits. And the only thing they know to do is the same. For example, anger knows only to be angry. The ego, I want to say, as anger, the only thing that knows to do is to be angry, to become angry with anything, at anything. So the only thing that knows to do is to want pleasure and desire combustively pleasure, and projects itself to objects, mental or sensory objects, to experience pleasure. The guilt, the only thing that knows is to create this sense of guilt in us and experience this miserable state of feeling guilt. And the problem is that we feel that I feel guilt. No, you don't. Yes, the I feels guilt, but the I is the ego, and we are not the ego. And the ego is not the thought I. The ego is a field of energy that feels guilt. And this field of energy identifies first of all with the body. So we as a body-mind person, we feel guilt or guilty. We feel this feeling of guilt, or we think that we feel guilty. So, and the same happens with everything we experience in our psyche, with all emotions. And I refer especially to lower emotions, because higher emotions are really part of our system. The lower emotions have been developed in us through some causes. So it's like the cells, the bodily cells. They are part of the body, natural part of the body. But the cancer cells are not. Natural, they are modification from the natural cells. So it's not something natural in us, the cancer. Similarly, the egoic tendencies have been developed or created because of a modification of the normal functions. So, for example, there is the natural desire for eating to maintain this body alive. And this natural desire for eating has become gluttony, which is like a psychological cancer in us, or virus. The same applies to everything, to all egoic tendencies. And all egoic tendencies are related to desire, and the most problematic form of desire is the lust. Desires lust. So, the ego is vital psychic energy, and in order to be free from this ego, we have to dissolve this field of energy. There is no other way. And since this field of energy is not so obvious like the thoughts, okay, when this field of energy is strongly expressed, manifests itself strongly, then it's quite obvious. But the point is that this emotional body, it's not always, it expresses itself in a very subtle, invisible, difficult to perceive way to become aware of. And that's why we are deluded by it. Deluded as this, because it can take this subtle emotional body a very subtle form of expression which causes a certain way of thinking, of understanding. It clouds our mind, and especially our intellect, and we think and we understand things influenced by this energetic taste. It can be anger. So the anger can be so subtle, in a very subtle way manifested in us, almost imperceivable. However, this subtle expression of the anger distorts our intellect and clouds our intellect, and we think what we think it is influenced by this anger energy, although we are not aware of it. The same applies to lust, like sexual lust, gluttony, pride, jealousy. And also, the ego, what also does is that makes us to believe that not only prevents us from realizing that this the ego that thinks that way, but also make what I don't know this word, compensation, or makes us to believe the opposite. So, for example, we criticize something because we are jealous of it. So, for example, a friend of ours, or a friend of mine, have bought a new car, and I like it very much, and my ego is so jealous because my friend has this car, and I want to have this car as well. But this can result to a criticism, negative criticism. But it's not so good. In reality, my ego likes very much this car, but it takes the form of criticizing this car as something not so good. I don't like, because why does the ego this? Because it wants to compensate this desire, and since our ego cannot get this car because we have not so much money as our friend has, so instead of admit that this car is very wonderful, but okay, I want to have it, but I don't have the money, say, oh, it's not so good. Of course, this is not something that says to our friend, but internally in our mind, well, it's not so good. Okay, it's good, but not good enough. I want something better than this. Of course, also jealousy can express itself directly. Say, oh, I'm very jealous of this. I want this also. So we can say, what is this? Is this something bad to want a car like the car of my friend? Depends. But in reality, the moment we think like this, we suffer. This is a kind of suffering, because we feel lack, insufficiency. There is a sufficiency in us, a lacking. I want this car in order to feel okay, because I feel okay when I enjoy something. So I enjoy a possession like a car. This is problematic situation in us. If we do this from a state of abundance, I'm already complete, I don't need this car to be happy, or I don't need this car to feel special or superior, recognized from my friends, then it's okay to buy a car. I repeat it. If I buy a car from a state of completeness, and that means I don't need this car to be happy. I don't need this car to feel special. I don't need this car to prove to others that I'm very important and person. I don't need this car to experience happiness for my well-being. If my well-being does not depend on the car, then to buy or not buy the car it does not make any difference, so you can buy it. But if you can say, so why to buy this car if I don't, if I will not experience happiness or joy? Why? I don't know. I don't buy a car. If I need, we buy a car because we need to make our jobs or whatever, to get to the supermarket or to get to the nature. So, for example, because I don't have a car, I don't go to the nature as I wanted to go. But this limitation, external limitation, does not make me unhappy. This is the point. I could enjoy the nature, and I could enjoy more often the nature if I had a car. I don't mind. It's okay. Life is okay as it is. I'm happy with not having a car. And in reality, the more we have, the more our life becomes complicated, because to have a car needs money for service, for gas. We have to take care, we have to gas energy to drive. In my experience, everything that needs effort. So I prefer, this is something I feel sometimes like Ramana Maharshi, who was living in Arunachala and was only walking around the hill and just was sitting around the ashram, like this something. And you can say, what life is this? What kind of life is this? I don't know. I'm happy with what I have and what I experience, except when I feel my body a little bit sick. It causes me I have a special issue with cold. I have a special issue with inner cold, not the cold I experience because outside the weather is cold. It's a very specific issue I have. So when this becomes worse, this coldness I feel inside, it's a little bit disturbing. So this causes me a little bit, I cannot say unhappiness, but I don't know how to say it. So that's why this dimension of life is just wanting, desiring things, getting things in order to feel happy and fulfilled and satisfied or whatever. But if we dissolve this ego element, which is only desire, nothing else than desire, then we feel happy, although we experience happiness, although we don't have anything. And when I mean happiness is not an accelerated, excited state, emotional state. Happiness means deep peace and freedom and fulfillment and plenitude, something like this, and beauty. This is my experience. I describe my experience. It is in reality an indescribable freedom, peace, plenitude, and beauty together as an homogeneous experience, single experience. All these four I mentioned, peace, freedom, plenitude, and beauty, are not four different aspects of experience. It's a single experience, but have these nuances, we could say. It's freedom, at the same time is peace, at the same time is wholeness or fullness, at the same time is beauty. Indescribable. And this is real freedom in my experience and what the great teacher says. That happiness is something we are. Real happiness, everlasting happiness is something we are, and that's something we don't get from anything else different to ourselves. Sensory experience experiences do not give us happiness. It is a delusion, but it's because we are attached to them and we desire them. If you don't desire something, we don't get happiness from it. For example, if you don't desire a child, so when you get a child, you are not happy, and then you go to the doctor to when it's in embryo, that is in the how to say this, in the amnion of the woman, and you are aware of it, then you go to the doctor to get out this embryo, because you don't like a child. So we are not happy at all. But those who desire a child, then in the news that a child is already, how to say this, I don't know, it is in the amnion of the woman, there is a new embryo, this happiness arises because of attachment and desire. But if you don't want this, you are unhappy. Okay, there is also a natural happiness when a new life comes in life. This is my experience. There is a natural, but not because it's my child or it's a dog. It can be anything. When I see a new life to come to take birth, for me it's an amazing event. Every time I see this, I see it as a miracle. But this happiness has nothing to do with the happiness we have because my child will be born. My child. Because we want a child, my child, mine. So that's why to this, what I say with the birth of a child, it applies to everything. When we see the sky, the blue sky, when we see the sun, we feel this beauty, we experience this beauty, the natural happiness, but it's not an accelerated happiness. It's a sattvic happiness in us. This is natural. But it has not this, I want to get this. I want to experience this again and again. This is a lustful, greedy desire. But when we naturally find ourselves in this very in nature, and we experience sunset, sunrise, forests, or the sky, the blue sky, the night star sky, then a wonder and a very, how to say, beautiful feeling arises in us. A joy, but it's so gentle, and has another quality, that this happiness that arises from the rajasic desires, lusty mind, that wants this for me. This is my car, this, I want this, an object to be happy. It has nothing to do. It's a natural experience of joy when we are in a state that we can connect profoundly with life and appreciate life as it is. And in this state there is no wanting or desiring. It's just being one with life. So although we are not aware of it, all of us will have this experience, especially when we are in nature. We experience this joy of being in nature, because nature by nature, the nature by nature is sattvic, has a very light, luminous vibration. That's why our mind easily, because our mind is very influenced of what we experience through senses and through the energy field, because we have also experiences just by connecting. Our energy field is connected with the energy field of nature, of other persons or places, etc. So when we find ourselves in nature, in a forest, on the mountains, where the human civilization does not has not already contaminated, so experience this pure luminous vibrations of nature which affect our mind, and so our mind assumes its sattvic, luminous, harmonious state. That's why we experience this beautiful joy of sattva. There is the joy of sattva, which is natural, and there is this rajasic enjoyment, which is not natural, we can say. But since rajas functions in our mind, then why it is not natural? Because the mind by nature is sattva, and has been contaminated by rajas and tamas, and converted like I said before, that the normal natural cells of body becomes cancerous, cells of cancer, cancerous, I don't know how exactly we say this. Because of some reason, the natural cells have lost their natural state and become cancerous. Similarly, the mind, for some reason, has lost its natural state of sattva and has become rajasic and tamasic as well, which are like toxins in our system, in our psyche, in our minds. That's why we have this distorted and perverted desires. Desire depends on its nature. It's not problematic. Desiring the good of others, it's a sattvic desire. Desiring to help poor men, it's or desiring to give knowledge to others or to support emotionally others, it's a sattvic desire. But always in the background, there is an egoistic element as well in this desire, that sometime I will get back this help I have given, or I give, I will take it back. So I do this because of compassion or empathy, but also in the back of ground, or the back of my mind, there is also this rajasic desire to have a compensation, a reward. We need a reward, because we live in a fear and separation, and we don't trust life. So we think we'll do this good thing now, so when I have needs, this man or this woman or this person will help me as well. But if we trust fully life, the life itself will give us what we need always. If we live in harmony with life, we don't need to depend on anything, and specifically with a specific person or situation or place or job or anything. If we live in harmony and cooperate with life and we trust life, life will provide us anything we need. And this is the promise of divine beings, of God Himself through divine beings like Krishna and Jesus Christ. Don't worry, you will have what you need. Just seek the kingdom of God, and God will provide you what you ever need. So there is a full trust, and we trust life, trust God will, and God plan, God's plan. We trust God's plan, that everything that happens in our life is for our highest good. And the highest good is not the highest good for our ego, because the ego, it is programmed to want things and find fulfillment through things, which is only an illusion and only creates suffering. A little transitory, fleeting joy or happiness or satisfaction, but a lot of suffering and misery and pain. I mean psychological pain, which is suffering. A miserable state of living. But due to ignorance and due to identification and the very low performance of our intellect, we don't realize this. And we cease to find happiness to the external world. And we fail constantly. All people fail to find happiness. But due to ignorance and due to lack of discernment and clear perception, we insist to go to the same way and suffer. And we wonder why we suffer. And we think that bad things happen in our life, and that's why we suffer. While the only cause of suffering is our ego, which is not the I thought. It's a field of energy of low vibrational frequency, which is experienced in the form of anger, guilt, jealousy, envy, gluttony, lust, sexual lust, pride, needing, impatience, avarice, what else? Hatred, what else? Wrath. What else? Dislike, resentment, feeling hurt, feeling disappointed, deceptionate, what else? Grief, sorrow, distress. All these are diseases of the mind. We can say, as many psychologists say, they are natural to our system. I say clearly, they are not natural. They are toxins. It's like the body. The body, when loses its capacity to digest completely the food because we eat so much, or very often, or in a very bad mood, or we eat wrong foods. So this food that is not well digested becomes toxins. So toxins is not, that toxins are stored in our system everywhere, in the tissues, all over in the body. And these toxins are not part of the body, although they are stored in the body. And apparently they have become part of the body, but are only toxins. Similarly, egoic tendencies and what we call natural emotions like anger and fear are toxins for the mind. The mind by nature is happy, joy. So, when the mind is toxified by nature, by rajas and tamas, and due to wrong association with sensory experiences, develops these psychological toxins we call egoic or selfish tendencies. And the only thing that is sure is that they create a little bit pleasure or joy, but they do not create joy. Because of our attitude towards them, we experience joy, but we experience a lot of suffering. This is what I wanted to say about the nature of ego. The only way to freedom is dissolving the elimination of ego. There is no other way. And connecting consciously with our divine nature, which is the embodiment of peace, love, light, plenitude, and freedom and bliss. And also, when our mind, also the sattva quality in the mind is also by nature joyful, happy. It's happiness. We experience happiness when the mind is in its sattvic state, or when we achieve that our mind becomes totally sattvic. We experience naturally and spontaneously the sattvic joy of life, which is something natural. I wish you peace, love, and light in your life. I wish you to practice more intensively and more effectively, and get more and experience more and more the peace and bliss and freedom you are as divine essence, and be free more and more from the suffering that the ego causes in your psyche. Thank you for being with me. I wish you a good and nice day. Namaste.